one eternity later, I finally got to watch Terrifier 3! Welcome back, and once again, thank you for trusting me with your full spoiler movie reviews. That thing I do where normally I watch movies early, and then I tell you all about them. But this time, I'm a little late, but don't worry, I'm still going to tell you all about it. As always, I am unpaid and unsponsored. And spoilers. Spoilers, spoilers, all the spoilers. If you don't want spoilers, you can go ahead and scroll. I won't be offended. Spoilers, spoilers, spoilers. Okay, here we go. The long-awaited and much-anticipated Damon Leon's Terrifier 3. What, you thought decapitation was going to take out Art the Clown? You would be wrong! Because you know he's a scary demon monster guy, and he can walk around without a head. We open on a beautiful winter's night. There is snow falling outside. It's a few days before Christmas. All the children were all snuggled into their bed until the fucking small child gets out of their bed and goes and tells their parents that they hear some shit on the roof. Mom puts the girl back in the bed and tells her that it's just the elves checking for OSHA violations. Some time goes by, little girl goes downstairs. There's somebody in a Santa suit. She thinks it's Santa. She can't see the face though. But who is it? Well, it's Art. And what did he bring in his magic sack? An axe. Oh, and heads up, this time children are fair game in here. And I don't mean like the Clown Cafe commercial, I mean like... But we'll get to that anyway. So the little brother is hacked. You don't see that part. And then he goes into the parents' room and he starts hacking away at the dad. And the mom wakes up and sees that he's hacking him. And then he hacks her. And then he eats all the cookies and washes the plate. And then he hears a rustling under the counter and finds the little girl. And I'm assuming he had the little girl together too. And then we flash back to 5 years ago, and this is right after he got his head cut off and all that stuff. And the cops are going down to check. Well, his body attacks a cop. Steals his head, and then he takes the train over to the, I think it's like a rehab center where Vicky is, and the little demon thing that I think was the little demon girl from like part 2. Anyways, it infiltrates Vicky, and now Vicky is evil. Meanwhile, Sienna is now out of the mental hospital after a few different times. She's going to live with her aunt, uncle, and cousin. Her little brother is at school. Poor kid's having a rough time because his roommate's girlfriend is like really into true crime podcasts and she has like no sense of empathy whatsoever. So he's dealing with that. Sienna's dealing with visions and post-traumatic stress disorder, but she's having a fun time with her little cousin. So then Art goes to a bar where Santa is having a drink. He's having a good time. He's doing his Art the Clown mime shit. Santa was so sweet to him. He let him sit on his lap. He bought him a drink, and then Art spits the drink in his face, and then he pees on Santa. It starts to become like a whole thing about him getting kicked out of the bar until he brings out a gun. He shoots the bartender. He shoots the other guy at the bar. And then there's the one Santa. He ties Santa to a chair. And he brings out, it looks like a fire extinguisher, except this fire extinguisher is made out of liquid oxygen. The one where you spray things or you dip things in it and it gets all freezy and shattery. Yeah, so he did that with like hands and legs. He froze them and then he smashed them with like his pickaxe hammer thing. And then he did the same to his face and stole his beard and his suit. Well, then Sienna and her cousin are going to the mall. They're trying to find some Christmas presents. And Sienna looks over and she sees a guy in a suit that's basically Art because there's like blood around the cuffs and the bloody gloves and waves, but he's wearing a mask. Well, there was a mall Santa, but mall Santa went on break. And so Art the Clown showed up pretending to be Santa in the Santa suit and, you know, the beard. It was like giving presents to children, but it turned out it was a, how do I say this without getting banned on here? Of the pipe variety? I think it was a pipe variety. But gave it to children and it went off and it was a horrible situation. Ass, blood, and guts everywhere. So now Sienna's freaking out. She calls her brother and the uncle is supposed to get the brother. And that's as far as she knows. Well, Art and Vicky have shown up at the college where the brother is and is running around doing their thing. The roommate and the girlfriend are having sex in the shower, and what does he do? Brings out a whole ass chainsaw and starts ripping them apart. And you're just like, oh, okay, so like Texas Chainsaw. No, because he went in betwixt the roommate's butt cheeks. He split him between the ass cheeks, and there was a wiener, and there was balls. I feel like that's like insult to injury, just to take the chainsaw up between the cheeks. But this is the same man that took a comedically long time to go get bleach and salt on a lady he essentially scalped. Pouring the bleach and salt was not funny. The amount of time he took to do it was. I can't explain it. Cut back to Sienna. She just woke up from a nap. Goes downstairs. Guess who's in the kitchen? It's Art and Vicky. They're doing some shit. Art done fucking crucified the uncle to the wall. His head is now the tree topper. His intestines are now the tree garland. He hits Sienna with a hammer. She wakes up. She's tied to a chair with like tape over her mouth, and so's her aunt on the other side. They uncover this like bird cage looking thing. It's full of rats and a skull that's been partially eaten. They tell the aunt that it's the cousin. That would be her daughter. And then, and this is the part I almost threw up. One of two. They take this long ass glass tube and they shove it down the aunt's mouth, and I mean, he is hammering it in so it goes all the way to the back of her throat. And then they pick up these rats and they put it in. It's very medieval-esque until they're like caught in her throat and she dies, and then they like, yeah, well, she did. And come to find out, it wasn't even the cousin. The skull belonged to the brother at college. So they're taunting Sienna with her cousin, and the cousin's like, she should at least get to open her Christmas present. So they're like, okay, Sienna, open your present, but not before bashing her hands in with the damn sledgehammer. And not so surprised, because I forgot to tell you about this, but it's the flaming sword thing she had in part 2. So Sienna does her badass thing. She manages to like release the demon from Vicky, but she had to decapitate her, so Vicky's gone. And the blood comes out and turns into like acid or whatever and creates a portal to hell. And the cousin gets sucked in. And then Art takes off, but not before getting stabbed. But then he gets on a bus and he's like terrorizing another woman, and that's the end. So now Sienna's cousin is trapped in what I'm assuming is hell, and Art is still on the loose. The end. Except I forgot to tell you this one part that happened at the beginning. So anyways, after he picks up Vicky and everything like 5 years ago, they go to this house that I guess was originally Art's house. And they like sit vacant, I guess, for a while until these two guys came in because they were going to condemn the house and like bulldoze it or whatever. Well, Vicky and Art awaken. One guy just gets cut with like a piece of mirror. And this poor other guy, let me tell you, Art manages to like open his scalp down like the center, right? And he puts his hands like on either side and he pulls it. He peeled this man's face like you peel an orange. Sort of. Like if you could peel an orange in 2 pieces, that's what it would look like. Meanwhile, fucking Vicky's got that said piece of fucking mirror and is schmaster-schmading? Blaster bleeding? See what I'm saying? And that was the other part I almost threw up in. So that's the whole movie. Now, did I like it? Do I actually like any of these movies? They've grown on me. Like, this isn't a franchise I would pick every day, and we're talking about part 3 as well. But if I'm in a very specific type of mood, this hits the spot. Because sometimes you need carnage and gore without all the humanity attached to it. And I kind of think Art the Clown is an interesting ass villain because there is no humanity to him. But also his character isn't really limited to like one type of weapon. Hear me out. You do have Jason who like occasionally use his hands and slam somebody or crush them in the bed, but for the most part he has his machete. Michael Myers, the same with his knife. Freddy Krueger, the same. But Art's not afraid to use whatever the hell he has. I mean, he whipped out a whole fucking gun. What kind of fucking monster movie does that? And I think that's what takes the limits off the table. I really hope y'all are understanding where I'm going with this. I think he's kind of fascinating. That and occasionally he's just a goofy little guy. An incredibly violent, frightening, goofy little demon thing. So I'm going to rate this based on how well it held up as an installment in the Terrifier franchise, rather than how it stands as a standalone movie. Although, honestly, it would stand as a standalone movie, and I'm a little bummed they pushed it back from Christmas. I understand it's Halloween and it's a good time, but I think this would be so much fun at Christmas. I almost hope they do like a re-release. So as a franchise installment, it's a 10 out of 10. In betwixt the cheeks, 10 out of 10. Okay, bye. Hey ho, the mistletoes, but it's actual toes, cause it's off. He done stole all your toes off your feet.